Hi, my name's Paul Arnold and I'm a qualified psychotherapist and trained coach. And today's session is talking about managing anger. And again, another huge topic and one which I can only literally scratch the surface of. And I'm going to share you some theory and some strategies, and those strategies are very behavioral, very sort of cognitive in their nature. And reality is this is where the psychotherapeutic space really comes into its own, because obviously, anger is a very powerful emotion. And actually we can dig into understanding what's going on underneath that, to help someone be able to manage their anger in a more healthy space. So let's dive into the topic of managing anger. You know what? We see it all the time. Small things trigger people and they swear away and they're smashing their fists into things, they're slamming doors and they're storming around, and in some obviously places they are going to be very physically violent as well. And then we've got that sort of passive aggressive, which is actually sort of a veiled attempt to control it, but clearly it isn't controlled at all, because we sense that whole anger is underneath it all, and that is just as intimidating. And obviously from anger it very quickly can go into aggression, and that's where people can feel very intimidated by it and scared by it, because you think about it, it's about a place of power and control that people are trying to sort of, usurp other people, and to sort of, demand their own space and their needs in that confrontation. And obviously, we've seen it all the time. The poor waitress gets the brunt of it all, and obviously, loved ones get an unfair share of it very often, because there is repair possible in that space. And we're living in more anxious times right now. Emotions are deeply contagious. What's going on in the world space is just making, it become, more common, and in a strange way, slightly more acceptable, as horrible as that is to say. So let's talk a bit about, anger is often regarded as being a secondary emotion. It's something which underneath the anger lives another emotion, be it fear, be it shame, be it hurt, be it grief, be it injustice, be it frustration. And what we also know is that, is for many segments of society in particular, is culturally denied. It's sort of slightly more acceptable for a man to be angry, a woman not. A black woman even more so. And, Barack Obama used to, was advised about he couldn't show anger because that wasn't allowed, because that would be shown a weakness, which is actually a great shame, because it is still a very powerful emotion that actually, if it's properly dealt with, is really important. Now, the trouble is that because of the cultural nature of it, it's so massively repressed. And when something gets repressed, a level of energy that anger has, it has to come out somewhere. And for many people, it comes out in a place of depression. That's why depression is one of the most common mental conditions going on in our current society. So strategies, tips. Look, the first thing is, because it's such a high energy, it's got to be released. So the idea is sort of scream in the car, go on the top of the hill, scream out, get the tennis racket and then beat the couch with it. It's got to be, as I call exorcised out. It's got to come out of us, because it's better out than in, and it's better done in a managed space That's where the psychotherapeutic space can be a managed space to do it into. And then what we've then got to go and do is we've then got to look at what is behind it. You know, in that moment it happens and you can't do anything about it because there's something about the meaning we put on it. And I always say, you know, that there's what I call, you know, the meaning cycle, which basically like we have an event. And it's not the event that triggers it, it's the meaning we put on it. Someone has dissed me or something like this. I'm frustrated, I'm not being listened to, my needs are not being heard. Which then, because we do that, automatically it triggers into emotion. And the emotion then automatically gets triggered and then we're into some action and that leads to a result. Now it's very difficult at the time to stop that. But what we need to do is actually maybe afterwards reflect upon what was the meaning I put upon that trigger point. And we've got to identify what are our trigger points. And then think, when that happens, how do I deal with it? And maybe the best thing is just get out of there. You know, walk away, because that's a safety space, because then at least you can give some degree of temperance to it, you can control it, and then you can come back in a better space. But obviously, you know, this is where the psychotherapeutic space is a very powerful space, is we can dig into the root cause of the anger because it has something about a past trauma, a past unresolved hurt that is coming out. And because it was never allowed to be expressed, it's coming out in unhealthy ways. And if we can deal with that and we can address it and we can process it, then actually remove something that is, you know, a very damaging to relationships. Anyway, I hope that helps. Keep calm.